You're sitting there right now, phone in hand, screen glowing, mind racing through 1,000 thoughts at once. And here's the test. Can you last 10 seconds without speaking, without scrolling, without filling the silence with noise? Most of you can't. That's not an insult. It's a diagnosis. Silence has become unbearable. We live in a world where every gap, every pause, every moment of emptiness gets immediately filled with content, with stimulus, with distraction. The average person reaches for their phone within 3 minutes of waking up. They fall asleep to YouTube videos. They eat while watching TikTok. They can't even sit on the toilet without entertainment. We have become addicted to input, allergic to our own thoughts, terrified of the space between moments. And that's exactly how they want it. A dominant mind doesn't need constant stimulation. A dominant mind can sit with itself. It can endure discomfort without reaching for the dopamine button. It can hold a thought without interrupting it with another thought. This isn't some mystical superpower. This is how humans used to exist by default, before the algorithm hijacked your attention span and monetized your inability to focus. Think about it. When was the last time you sat in complete silence for more than 60 seconds? No music, no podcast, no background noise, just you and your thoughts. For most people, that scenario sounds like torture. They'd rather scroll through Instagram Reels for 3 hours than sit alone with themselves for 3 minutes. That's not normal. That's not healthy. That's trauma dressed up as preference. The 10-second silence test reveals something brutal about your level of self-control. If you can't last 10 seconds without speaking, without moving, without doing something to break the tension, then you are not in control of your mind. Your mind is in control of you. And more accurately, the dopamine system inside your brain is running the show while you sit in the passenger seat pretending to be the driver. Every time you break silence prematurely, every time you interrupt someone mid-sentence, every time you check your phone during a conversation, you are announcing to the world that you have lost sovereignty over your own attention. You have become a reactor instead of an actor. You have traded patience for panic, stillness for stimulation, depth for distraction. The modern world is designed to make you weak. It's designed to fracture your focus into 1,000,000 tiny pieces so that you never develop the mental muscle to sit with hard things. Boredom is treated like a disease that needs to be cured immediately. Silence is seen as awkward, something to be avoided. Stillness is considered lazy. We have built a society that punishes contemplation and rewards constant motion, constant consumption, constant noise. And the result, a generation of people who can't read a book without checking their phone every 5 minutes. Who can't have a conversation without thinking about what they are going to say next, instead of actually listening. Who can't sit through a meal without turning on a screen. Who can't fall asleep without numbing their brain into submission with content until their eyes finally give up. This is what they mean when they talk about mental weakness. Not the inability to lift heavy weights or endure physical pain. The inability to be alone with yourself without spiraling. The inability to sit in discomfort without immediately seeking relief. The inability to delay gratification for even a few seconds. A dominant mind is the opposite. It doesn't react to every impulse. It doesn't jump at every notification. It doesn't fill every silence with words just to avoid the tension. A dominant mind observes before it acts. It thinks before it speaks. It chooses its focus instead of letting external forces dictate where attention goes. This is why the most powerful people you know are often the quietest. They don't need to constantly assert themselves through words. They don't need to fill space with their presence. They understand that silence is not empty. Silence is full. Full of observation, full of calculation, full of awareness. While everyone else is talking, they are listening. While everyone else is reacting, they are strategizing. The 10-second test is simple, but it cuts deep. Sit down, close your eyes, set a timer, 10 seconds, no talking, no moving, no checking anything, just exist. If you can do that without your mind screaming at you to do something, to think about something, to escape the moment, then you have baseline control. If you can't, then you are a slave to stimulus and you don't even realize it. Most people fail this test immediately. Their mind floods with thoughts. They get uncomfortable. They start fidgeting. They want to speak just to break the awkwardness of the silence. This is withdrawal. This is what happens when someone who has been constantly stimulated suddenly gets cut off from their drug of choice. And the drug is dopamine. The drug is novelty. The drug is noise. Here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. You are not as in control as you think you are. Your phone has trained you like a lab rat. Every notification is a pellet. Every like is a reward. Every scroll is another hit. And over time, you have lost the ability to generate your own internal sense of calm, your own internal sense of purpose, your own internal sense of focus. You need the external world to provide it for you. Breaking this cycle starts with reclaiming silence. It starts with sitting in discomfort without immediately reaching for relief. It starts with practicing the ability to be bored without treating it like an emergency. It starts with a 10-second test and gradually building up from there. 10 seconds becomes 30. 30 becomes a minute becomes 5. 5 becomes an hour. And eventually, you develop the capacity to sit with your own mind without needing constant input to survive. That's when you become dangerous. That's when you become free. Because a person who can control their attention is a person who can control their life. A person who can sit in silence is a person who can think clearly. A person who doesn't need constant stimulation is a person who can delay gratification, make better decisions, and execute on long-term goals without getting distracted every 5 minutes. The world doesn't want you to have that power. The world wants you scrolling, consuming, distracted, reactive, weak. The world profits from your inability to focus. Every second you spend unable to sit still is a second someone else is making money off your fractured attention span. So take the test. 10 seconds. Silence. No distractions. If you can do it, you have the foundation of a dominant mind. If you can't, then you know exactly where the work begins. And the work is simple. Sit down, shut up, endure the discomfort. Do it every single day until your mind stops fighting you and starts obeying you. That's the difference between someone who controls their life and someone whose life controls them. That's the difference between a dominant mind and a distracted one. That's the difference between freedom and slavery. 10 seconds. That's all it takes to find out which side you're on.